What's up guys, my name is Aaron. Welcome to today's video. We're going to be doing some remote internet testing on our Weboost antenna and also our Mimo antenna on our Verizon hotspot. Stay tuned. So today we're in a beautiful remote location in Montana and I want to do a little testing. About a mile up the road before we got to our camp spot here, we had about 40 megabytes download and 20 megabytes upload. It was screaming fast internet for out here. So as soon as we got down by the water, like I said, about a mile away, we noticed the signal dropped almost to nothing. So this is a good spot to do some testing, and we're going to test the hotspot by itself, the hotspot with the Mimo antenna, the hotspot attached to the external antenna on the roof, which is part of the Weboost system, but not going through the Weboost. And then we'll have the hotspot being boosted by the Weboost. Our primary source of internet on the road is this Inseego MiFi 8800L with the Verizon Unlimited prepaid plan that they no longer offer, but it was out for about 6 months and it started at $70 a month and you could get it down to $65 with auto pay. We also have the Weboost. This is the inside antenna, which is attached to the Weboost itself. And then there's an antenna up on the roof, which I'll show you shortly. This is the Mimo antenna. It stands for multiple in, multiple out. And it has two TS9 connectors, which won't connect to every source that you have, but if you do have something that has the TS9 connectors like that, it works pretty slick. So we first started out with the Weboost, and we just found ourselves not using it very much at all. Verizon gets pretty good coverage everywhere we go, but then through Chris and Cherie on the Mobile Internet Resource Center, I saw this little guy, which is about, I think it's about $30 now, and it doesn't take any power. So you just simply plug it into your antenna or your hotspot and it's always going. And then we also use this little suction cup soap dish on the window so that it gets better service. And then also recently, somebody made a comment on one of our videos that they connect their hotspot directly to the external antenna on the roof, not through the Weboost, but just to the antenna itself. So I found this little adapter on Amazon, and so this has two TS9s that'll go into the hotspot, and then this connects right to the antenna that goes to the roof. So it's basically just sending your hotspot directly to the antenna on the roof. And the advantage of that is not only is it on the roof, but you don't have something stuck in your window, and we always have kind of cords hanging around, including this and the charger. Okay, the first test here is going to be pretty quick, pretty simple, because we don't have any service with just the hotspot itself. So you can see no service right out this window, the direction we're facing that way. I don't know if you can see off in the distance, but that is where we had the signal about a mile up over a slight hill. So just no service without being boosted at all. So next up, let's check out the Mimo. So we're going to simply connect these TS9 connectors into the hotspot, just like that. What I found for the best use over the past about a year we've had this is sticking it in the window. This is a directional antenna, so it helps to move it to different windows depending on which tower it's trying to pick up. But I figured out since we've been here, this is the direction that works best so far. Let's give this a minute and see if we get any service picking up here. And so the benefits of the multiple in, multiple out antenna over the Weboost, from what I understood by Chris and Cherie, is that there's two antennas. So it's a dual antenna on the multiple in, multiple out. So it doesn't go as far, but it has two antennas, so it can receive a wider width of data. And the way they explain the Weboost is that it only has a single antenna, so it can reach farther, but it may not have as much bandwidth to allow the data to come through. And I found that to be true in most areas. So we can see this is not picking up anything at all. And we've been in this location for a couple days. I've tried multiple windows, multiple spots, and usually this thing will pick up right away if it's going to pick it up. So it's pretty quick, and we're just not getting anything at this at all. So next up, we're going to plug this hotspot directly into the antenna on the roof. Up in this overhead cabinet is where we keep our Weboost attached to the ceiling up here. And you can see this is plugged into a coaxial cable that goes into the walls up to an antenna up on the roof. So what I'm going to do is unplug out of the back of the Weboost, and we'll plug that into our adapter and plug it into the back of the hotspot. Weboost has these smaller connectors that aren't the same size as a normal coaxial cable, so watch out for that. These adapters are available on Amazon, but they're kind of special. I'll link these down below just so you can see them if you are interested in trying this same setup. But we're going to thread this in, and so right now it's connected to the antenna on the roof, and we'll take a look and see if we get anything. And I'm fairly new to this setup. I just got that cable like a week ago. So this is what I'm hoping works most of the time so that we can keep the hotspot up here plugged in and just roaming off the antenna up on the roof. And I tried it a little bit on the way up here and it seems to work, but I need to do a little bit more testing and find out exactly if it's doing better or not. But you can kind of see that it's not picking up signal at all out here, and that's kind of a bummer because I was hoping that it was going to be able to pick things up instead of having to run the Weboost and all the power that it takes, which I don't have hooked up to a 12-volt source, so our Weboost is running off of our inverter, so it just takes a lot of extra energy to run that all day long. Okay, next we're going to turn on our inverter, which will power the Weboost. And there it just clicked in the back, and then we'll take a look. You see 4G popped in right away, and it pops up to a couple bars. And one thing that I learned also is, you know, bars don't tell you necessarily a whole lot. If you go in the menu setting all the way down to about jetpack, but down here it gives you your signal strength and the SNR, which I think is signal noise reduction or signal noise resolution, something like that. But the signal strength, you want a lower number, and the signal or SNR, you want a higher number. So right now you can see it's negative 105 and roughly 3-4 decibels. But what does that all mean? Because I've had numbers all over the place, and really it doesn't necessarily matter. This gives you a good direction on, are you picking up a signal? But really it's about a speed test, or is your internet even performing? So what we found is when we've had to use a Weboost, which is very rarely, it will get the signal, but it's so weak that it's almost unusable for work. At least you can check a few emails, maybe stream a show at night, but most likely you are not going to be able to work a full day. It's just too frustrating, too slow. So let's do a speed test quick and see if we get anything with that. I'm just using an app on my phone, which is Wi-Fi'd to the hotspot, and it's just the speed test app, and we'll see what we get with that. And this is a little bit better than what we've actually been getting we've been out here for 2-3 days, but I guess it kind of comes and goes, but what we've been finding is about a 0.5 megabyte up. So this got 3, which is pretty phenomenal. And then, downloads. And then the upload speed is pretty much nothing. And that's pretty typical of what we've been seeing out here. So the Weboost does work. It does what it's supposed to do. And it does boost the signal, and it does allow you to pick up some data. But I have to say this with a warning, because in the year and a half, almost 2 years, we've been out on the road. We've had the Weboost the whole time, and we've really only used it less than a handful of times. And almost every time, I don't even know if I can think of one time that it's worked so flawlessly that we're fine. Like right now, we're going to be ending up leaving this beautiful spot because we just can't get any work done. So what we're finding now is that we're using the Mimo antenna 99% of the time, and it really does work if you're just on the edge of getting the signal. And that gets you data where it's usable, and it actually keeps us out in the farther places. We'll do a second test here also, because what we're finding is that it's picking it up, and it'll be fast for a couple seconds, and then it will slowly get worse. So we'll see what this second test does, and we'll probably just run a third test too. So my wife is in the back right now, and she's saying that her pages are not loading. Her internet's not loading. Maybe because all the data is going to the test here, but it's extremely low bandwidth that we're finding. And you know, we got 2 laptops, 2 phones, so we're using quite a bit of data, or trying to at least. Because usually off of 2 megabytes download, that's not a ton fast nowadays, but it's enough to get some work done. It's enough to function for a web page to load, which we're having trouble with even that happening. So here's the third test. Are you still having problems back there, dear? Okay. So it's kind of spotty. This morning we just struggled, and we could not get this thing to work at all. Both of us were just frustrated because nothing would happen. So we're right on the edge, I think. It'll work, and then it won't work. So here's one more too. You can see we can get the decibels down even a little bit more with the Mimo antenna being boosted out the window. So that's what we've been kind of trying the past couple of days here too, to see if that helps. Usually I would think too many antennas would start interfering with each other, but let's see if a speed test does anything on that. You can see the decibels, I think we're about 10 better rating, but the speed test is a little bit better actually. But this is the setup we've been using for the past 2 days, and it's just not enough. It's not a consistent, almost 4 megabytes download. I think I remember back in our first, not our first apartment, but our apartment, we would have 3 to 5 megabytes download, and that was, usable internet. But this is just not, it's just not usable. I don't think it's a consistent enough connection. So that's kind of the problem and the frustrations with internet on the road. Well, we did end up leaving that location, and we're actually now at a campsite in northern Washington, and there's much better Verizon signal out here, and actually T-Mobile also. So let's just run through those tests again really quick, and I can give you guys another scenario where it's not quite so remote, and let's see how everything performs. All right, I'll try to run through this as quick as possible. Here is the Verizon Jetpack by itself at negative 112 decibels and 4 decibels roughly for the noise. And let's run a test on that. Okay, so we see that performed about 5 megabytes down and half a megabyte up. So, kind of normal-ish speeds just with the Verizon Jetpack. Next, let's plug it into the Mimo, which again is on the window. Okay, that improves the decibels to negative 105, 106, and the signal to noise ratio is similar at about 5. So that decreased the download speeds and increased the upload speeds there. And one thing I'm going to do is reset the modem just so that maybe it'll pick up a different tower with the newfound antenna, and let's see if that does anything different. All right, you can see that picked up a different server, but the speeds are still pretty bad. And one thing I heard was that the Verizon Jetpack on itself has 4 internal antennas, and so hooking it up to the Mimo reduces it down to 2. So when you're in, a more urban area like we are here, it's still pretty rural, but you may get better service with the multiple antennas. So let's continue on and hook this up directly to the antenna on the roof and see what happens. This is the Verizon Jetpack with it plugged directly into the antenna. So let's run a test on that. And that's pretty typical of what we've been seeing. And one thing I'm going to do is unplug one of the Mimo TS9 ports, because for some reason that seems to give it a better signal strength. You see it goes down on that. So I just want to see what happens with just the one plugged in. And so you can see the speeds with just one TS9 connector hooked up into the antenna on the roof. The speeds are a little bit faster. Kind of weird. But let's do the final test of the Weboost running through its powered boost. All right, and here's the Weboost. You can see it gives it the best boosting of the signal, -80, -79. With a higher signal noise ratio. And like I said before, the Weboost does what it says it does. It does boost the signal. There's no doubt about that. It's just the speeds or the usability of the network that we're finding to be just not all that great. And so this is a good example. While the decibels are boosted, the signal is way stronger, but the speeds are not necessarily that much faster, but you did see it did continue to get stronger and stronger. So there's an example of the Weboost still getting a little bit better of the download speeds, but is it worth the $500? That is the big question, and only you can answer that for yourself. Did you notice how the signal strengths and the speed test were very similar in both locations? Yet here in Washington, we actually have usable internet that we can work with. It's extremely tricky to kind of judge and rate and test these things, but they do give you a good idea of what is a stronger signal or what can work better for you. I just wanted to point this out, and if you do need to work on the road, then it is important to have multiple options, multiple solutions, maybe different networks, different types of antennas to make sure that you can get the signal that you need. So back to Montana. So I just wanted to do this video and show some of the frustrations that we're having. And actually the video I wanted to do before, which I didn't do any testing, was an area where the Mimo way outperformed the Weboost, and as far as functionable data. So the Weboost works, and it may save your butt if you need to connect to the internet. It works good for cell phones also. It boosts that signal, so it helps you get a call out. But what we're finding is the Mimo works the best so far, and what I'm hoping is the hotspot attached to the antenna on the roof will work just as well, because it'd be nice just to have it set up there and not have this thing and cables, hanging all over the place like that. So stay tuned for some more testing. Me and my wife are full-time RVers, and we do a lot of boondocking, or have been doing a lot of boondocking, and we're trying to find the perfect solution to get better internet on the road. So if you have any suggestions, please leave a comment down below, and I would love to hear some other thoughts on it, because we're in just a beautiful spot right here, and about 2 days is all we can handle before we need to get back to work, unfortunately. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.